Howdy, hello, and welcome to the 5th episode of the Preferred Podcast. I'm your host, director, producer, writer, composer, and editor, Sajay Preferred.
And I'm the Heart of Alabama and the co-host of this prestigious podcast, Amber Valentine. The Preferred Today we're going to be spilling the tea and throwing the shade, girl.
And asking what the happened on RuPaul's Drag Race. But before we ask that question, let's start off with the topic of slay.
Slay!
Today we're going to be diving into the world of pageants. So we're going to be talking about the ins and outs, the ups and downs, and the in-betweens.
There's a lot in between.
Yeah, there really is. So let's get into the background of pageants. So the idea of drag pageants was ideally to was to mock, everyday glamorous pageants. So you have, your Miss Universe, you have, so on and so forth. Like for my hometown, there is the Miss. I can't say it. It's so funny.
I'm so weird.
The Miss Peanut.
Girl, it's just a peanut. What's so funny about it?
The Miss Peanut?
Tuscaloosa just had the Miss Tuscaloosa pageant.
Yeah. The idea of drag pageants
of Miss Peanut
is, the same of is to portray regular pageants, regular pageants, but in the sense of drag. The best comparison I can make is Miss USA. And then for the, drag pageants, you have Miss Gay of USA. Mm-hmm. So it's literally just a drag conveyed version. And then, besides Miss Gay USA, you have Miss Continental. Mm-hmm.
You have EOI as well.
You do. You have Miss Glamorous.
Yes. Sam Starr was a newcomer for that.
Yeah, and Birmingham local. With those pageants, you have kind of rounds you had to go through to get through them. So for the most part, you usually had to have a home title under your name, such as a pride pageant or a local bar pageant, and then you can kind of be qualified to go to prelims.
So you mean just any kind of simple title?
You had to kind of prove, unless you're competing for a newcomer. Usually, it depends on the pageantry system that you go through. But usually you had to have some sort of title under, unless you're competing for a newcomer, to prove that you can qualify for the prelim.
Right. Which I feel like even if it was a national newcomer title, mm-hmm. I mean, I almost feel like for a newcomer, you don't necessarily have to have pageant under your belt as long as you know what you're doing.
Yeah. You should at least do your research.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
But I feel like once it goes beyond newcomer, you have to have something behind you.
I agree. As mentioned, you go to prelim, which is, for the most part, it'll be Miss Continental, I don't know, Florida, Miss Continental, right. Texas, you'll compete in that prelim. Depending on the pageant system that you're running for, it can be the winner, it can be top two,
I've noticed quite a few of them are doing winner and first alternate.
Runner up, yeah.
So, quite a few do.
Who will go to the national. Mm-hmm. And you will, for the most part, have to drive, for instance, if you compete for a continental prelim, you have to drive all the way to Chicago.
Yep, Illinois. EOY's in Louisiana. No, not Louisiana. Yeah, I was going the wrong way.
Yeah. I think they actually changed.
I thought it was Indiana.
I don't know. That's a good question.
I don't remember it being Kentucky. I thought it was Indiana.
They might actually change the location per month.
Well, I mean, they could, because you have National Apollo that they alternate every year.
Yeah.
Per crew, state, mm-hmm. or city/state.
I don't know. That's a good one. I've never thought of that.
I'm curious.
Miss Glamorous this year was in Florida. Which makes sense.
I think Miss Glamorous is always in Florida, though.
Yeah,
that's where it's based.
It's owned by Trinity, the Tut Taylor.
Glamorous is?
Miss Glamorous? Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know Trinity owned that. Okay. I know she is big in with EOY now.
Owner.
She's like co-owner or something of EOY now.
She's the owner of Miss Glamorous. Miss Gay US of A is usually in Texas. I think that's the home base is in Texas. So then you go compete for the national and you get to win. And
lose.
It's in that
Don't get your hopes up, girls.
Horrible. But you know, in the day, back in the days,
way before we were even born.
In order for you to really get bookings, you had to have a title under your belt, and the higher, the bigger, the better, the more bookings.
Which makes sense.
Yeah, of course.
I mean that's like in a sense of proving yourself.
Yeah, and you know, in some sort of ways, unfortunately, in some scenes, it's kind of the same way, but with Drag Race now. You know what I mean? And it's, if you think about it, it makes sense. It's a huge pageant, and the only difference is it's televised. And, you know, most of these pageants, such as Miss Continental, Miss Gay, US of A, are televised and are put onto, like, YouTube. I watch clips all the time of, you know, the pageant. Yeah. But with these, there are different categories that you can compete in. So there's, like, plus, you know, there's Miss Continental plus. There's Miss Gay US of A plus. There's Miss Glamorous plus. There is not an Entertainer of the Year plus. Entertainer of the Year is just a pretty flat
Mr. and Miss. Yeah. That's about it.
Speaking of that, there is a Mr., there's a Miss. I'm going to let you kind of further in detail the difference between Mrs. because you are more in detail with that. I don't really give a about that. Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like when I think of Miss, which is MS, and Ms., which is MISS, I feel like an MS is more your female or, you know, more your trans woman kind of title, to where your MISS is more your man in drag title. Yeah. So like I will not compete for an MS title, for instance. There is a pageant that's not too far from here that their title for drag queens is MS. And I don't feel comfortable going for that because I'm not a woman. I'm not a trans woman. Like, I want to save that for them. And, like, I'm just a man doing drag. Yeah. So I will gladly accept my MISS.
I mean, that's completely fair. That's a different, like, I feel like that's an old school categorization of pageants, which,
I've clearly been told quite a few times that I'm leaning a little more towards old school.
But then other ones are Mr., which is, you know, male presenting. It can be trans men, AFAB, you know, so on and so forth.
There's not very many MX titles to be able to go for. So I feel like, you know, if you're non-binary, you may lead more Mr. or you may lead more Miss.
Well, I was about to say the next one would be MX, which is like more so like you're, you know, in between, you're non-binary, you don't really care to run for Miss or Mr.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Which there's not a whole lot of those. I would love to see more of those titles for our non-binary, you know, group of friends. That way they
and in Alabama they're popping up a lot more, thankfully. But for the longest time they were not.
I would say because even Carrot Top, the Mr. Crew Carrot Toss has an MX title now.
Going in depth into the pageants, usually they contain a bunch of different categories that you had to compete and show your talent through. Those categories being talent itself, which is usually just a performance of some sort that you pick. Q&A, interview Q&A, which is question and answer. Presentation, swimwear usually, and then sometimes there'll be different ones such as gown. In some cases, some pageants don't require gown.
I would say so. The difference is evening gown and evening wear. Yeah. If it's an evening gown, you are to come in a gown to the floor. To wear evening wear, you can come in a pantsuit if you want.
Yeah. And sometimes, of course, you'll have like different alterations of those categories, like you were saying with the gowns. You know, you might even have like best comedical gown if you're doing a comedy pageant.
EOY is creative.
Best creative gown. There's been also like best culture gown, where it's a representation of your culture. And
so they follow themes as well.
Yeah. And speaking of that, you know, as mentioned, I said comedy. There are different types of pageants in general too. You know, we were talking about earlier Entertainer of the Year. In my opinion, that's a totally different pageant than the regular.
Oh yeah, 100%.
That is portraying your talent and your talent alone. Where I feel as other pageants are a lot of like portraying your personality and your persona through your drag.
Right.
as
Well,
it portrays to the pageant.
and even with a comedy a comedy pageant, even with evening gown, like they're still gonna give off their comedy. To where for like a normal pageant, they give off body, they give off face, they give off lamb, you know.
Yeah, and some other ones that we have. You mentioned comedy. We talked about the comedy, and even in Birmingham just had the Miss Magic City Comedy Queen. I always mess up that,
which is a prelim to National Miss Comedy Queen.
Yes. And then there's the Monster.
The Monster Extreme
Monster.
National Monster Extreme.
Yeah, which Leviathan competed on, who we've seen on the Preferred Few.
And there's now Miss Magic City Monster coming
very soon,
supposedly. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah,
I'm excited for that little bit of diversity in Birmingham.
But speaking of pageants that other guests have done, let's talk about some pageants we've done.
Well, you've only done one, so
I've done quite a few actually.
2,
4.
Oh, but she's not a pageant queen.
I don't like doing pageants, but as mentioned, sometimes you have to do pageants to prove your worth.
So a pageant queen. So you have to be a pageant queen to be able to prove your worth. Is that what I'm hearing?
I would not like to do another pageant. If I had the choice to not do another pageant, I would definitely not do another pageant.
But you're going to.
Nah, maybe not. You never know. You never know.
I call BS on that.
You don't know.
I don't know. I feel like even like people that don't like pageants, I feel like once you do one, there's still that little bit of that addictingness to a pageant that like it could be years and eventually you'll get that itch and you're like, I actually just might. And you do.
Well, my thing is I'm very, very competitive. So, like, if I get the itch, I go hardcore into the itch to the point where I start bleeding from scratching.
So, I am also the same way. So, I go hardcore with my ideas and my preparation and my package alone. However, like, backstage and during the pageant, I'm very friendly, very... I want to kill my competition with kindness.
Yeah.
You know? I don't like mean queens, especially because, A, we're all here just trying to go for the same title. However, I want to beat your like.
Yeah. No, I definitely get it. My issue with me being too competitive is I put a lot of emotions tie in with the competitiveness. Like, if I don't lose, I will beat myself up fully. And that's what becomes a little too dangerous for me.
Which I feel like my standpoint is, I don't know if you're going to be better than me. I'm going to try my best to be better than you. And if you end up being better than me, then kudos to you. Yeah. I support you. I don't know. I'm very competitive, but I'm also very logical, I guess, question mark?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Do you have any pageants that you could see yourself doing in the future that you have an eye
on? So I'm getting ready for a pageant right now, which I've mentioned before, but I'm not going to mention again. So if you want to know, you'll go back and watch the video. I don't know. I'm kind of getting the itch of crew titles. I'm just in that moment of crew titles where I just want to expand myself a little bit more. So I think I'm working on pride titles at the moment, but my next step is going to be crew titles. And then from there, I mean, Apollo may be a good crew title to step into nationals, maybe.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I got a few years until I start going for nationals, but I definitely got my eyes on a little bit bigger than what a lot of people are thinking of me.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't really see myself doing any pageants.
See, as a kid, I've always wondered what it'd be like to just be a pageant queen and be royalty. And now I get the chance to. So I'm going to take the opportunity and be able to utilize that platform, not just to have a crown, like most people nowadays. But I want to be able to utilize that platform to be able to help fight the things that we need to fix. I mean, and that goes straight down to even like a video that I recently posted with a bunch of homophobic things being commented on it. Like, I want to be able to help stop that as much as possible.
Yeah.
I guess in a sense it's like solving world hunger.
Yeah. It's nowhere.
But we're gonna try to do it, even though it's not gonna happen.
Anyways, enough of that. Enough of that. I don't know. I never really. I'm more so the pageant scene, and the idea of being a pageant queen, which we'll get into here in a second. But I thought about doing a few pageants. Speaking of pageants, there recently was a pageant that was announced in Auburn, and immediately people jumped on it, and I was like,
tons of people.
Yeah, I was like, all right. I was thinking of doing it, but then I was like, no, I'm good, because a lot of it is just trust issues. I have, a lot of, besides beating myself up, I have a lot of issues putting my trust in a competition that I can't fully know is not rigged. You know what I mean?
There's a lot of rigor in pageants these days, especially local pageants. The people that are in charge of these pageants have an idea of a specific local entertainer that they like that just happens to go for it, or they specifically talk them to go to it just so that way they can win. And that kind of pulls my spirits down too, not gonna lie.
Yeah. But the only national pageant I could really see myself going for is Entertainer of the Year. That's really it. And even then, it would be on a whim. Right. You know what I mean?
I don't know. I feel like I'm more like a Renaissance kind of girl.
Yeah.
Renaissance, Continental, I would eventually feel like EOI would be in my route, but I don't know. Renaissance has been big on my mind. And they have a newcomer. So maybe in 2 years I'll go for Renaissance newcomer. Continental has a newcomer now.
Oh, yeah.
So I could, in 2 years, be the newest Continental newcomer.
Yeah.
Because Dominique and Florida won that one.
I don't know. My issue a lot with it is the environment of pageants and pageant queens. And I would just rather be more so there to portray my talent, which is more what Entertainer of the Year is.
Don't Speaking you have to have talent to show talent, though.
Speaking of the environment, a lot of pageant queens do have a bad rep. And I think a lot of it comes from the old school mindset of pageant queens, because pageant queens used to get down and dirty and do whatever they needed to do to win a crown.
They would rob
putting glass and powder, putting oil on the bottom of shoes so that people would slip, ripping outfits, cutting wigs. Yeah,
they were brutal.
They used to go in,
they were horrible.
And I feel like a lot of them also have a reputation, or had a reputation, of being very two-faced, with competition and then with their actual life. I don't know. It's just a very pressuring and stressful scene.
Right.
And I don't think it's I'm down for a competition, but when you take the competition too far, that's when I'm not a part of it anymore.
There's a point of being competitive like we are, and a point of being obsessively competitive.
Yeah.
Which leads you into sabotaging other contestants. Or just being mean to other contestants on top of that. Because I feel like if y'all are in the same pageant and y'all are in the dressing room together, y'all should at least be okay with each other. Y'all are doing this together, no matter how the outcome happens. And I hate when queens are rude in the dressing room during a pageant. I recently experienced that, and it was horrible. It was rough.
That pageant legacy and culture really hit hard for a lot of queens. It really brought them a lot of fame and a lot of talent. And not even really associating with Drag Race. There are a bunch that are Drag Race associated, but there's some Mimi Marks,
who is a staple and an icon.
Yeah, truly. Everything. There's some Chili Pepper, who is the very first ever Continental winner. Chevelle Brooks. There's
who was just so down for being queen.
Yeah.
You also have Paris.
Yeah.
Campbell.
Yeah. There's so many. And then, getting into the Drag Race related ones, there's Trinity the Tug, there's
Sasha Colby,
Eureka, Sasha Colby,
Brooklyn Heights,
Nisha Lopez,
which
Roxy
quite
Andrews,
a few of them alone are Continental.
Angeria, there's so many, and I feel like it really goes to prove that
has Jada's
won an Intern of the Year.
Oh, okay.
But a really good, and I think it was a prelim. I think it was just Michigan's Entertainer of the Year. Or not Michigan's, Wisconsin.
I was like, Michigan.
I was thinking Milwaukee for the end. Yeah, because she's from Milwaukee. It really goes to prove that the career they had in the pageant system really paid off and really helped them, to convey into Drag Race.
Which I see that, because Drag Race is a huge pageant. It's
probably, it really
honestly
is.
like the biggest pageant ever, because that's how many week technically pageant that they have to do on camera for the world. On top of that, it's huge.
And for a lot of them, I feel like the pageant system helped them with Drag Race. I'm hitting my earring over here.
Not the Heineken.
Not only did it help them like in the preparing process, with having those extra people to help out and those connections, but I also feel like it helped them with the Drag Race set, with the environment. They knew how to compete. They knew how to take down other competition. And for some people it worked out. Silky Nut McGanache, she was...
And who is sickening at this point.
She was known for her run with the pageants, you know what I mean? Curious Chanel Davenport was another one. Speaking of Silky Nut McGanache, I was talking about the kind of double standard that we have with, more specifically, Continental. A lot of pageant systems don't really take well to Drag Race contestants competing after they've been on Drag Race. And this is kind of like an unknown reason. No one really knows why of this. I mean, it's kind of obvious because they've had their time on this.
I would say I see where they're coming from with it, because, I mean, it's like going for a national title and then turning around and going for a local pageant, I guess, in a sense.
Yeah. Like,
you win EOY, but then you turn around and go for Miss Birmingham Rising Star kind of thing.
Yeah.
I feel like you go for such a prestigious title, but then you backtrack from that.
Or it's, I mean, not to like kind of downgrade it, but it's also kind of like, someone who, let's say, won a Continental title is doing a newcomer. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's kind of in the same sense.
Or like a queen that's been doing pageants for 12 years that goes for a newcomer.
Because you now have a big platform that you can advertise and get help from, and so on and so forth. So it does kind of put you on an uneven playing field for the competition of a pageant. You know what I mean? Especially when you're competing against a lot of local girls, But there still, to this day, will be a connection with the both of them,
I mean, a pageant's a pageant.
A pageant is a pageant. Drag Race,
no matter what it is.
Drag Race will continue to cast Continental, Miss Gay US of A winners, so on and so forth.
They're the best of the best.
Yeah. And Drag Race contestants will still compete for these pageants. Will they win? No. Some have been successful. Roxy Andrews and Kenny Davenport, to my knowledge, have been the only ones who have won a pageant after being on Drag Race.
I would say because Kenny Davenport just won the Glamorous duet.
Yeah.
So, and Roxy Andrews 2 years ago was Miss Glamorous. So.
Well, Roxy Andrews also won, and I don't remember if it was Elite or if it was just a regular Miss Continental.
I know Silky went for Continental, was it last year?
Yeah, and she did not even place top 10.
Because that was the one where she wore that gown. the gown she wore on RuPaul on Drag Race.
And I think that's definitely where a disconnection can be made. But I don't get it. Like, if anything, they're advertising your pageant system even more. Or they have the ability to advertise your pageant system even more.
I mean, yes, as long as they go in with the right attitude and not a I've been on Drag Race, I know what I'm doing kind of attitude, if you know what I mean. If you're going to wear something on Drag Race, make sure it's something you wore in a pageant before, and don't wear it in the pageant after you've been on Drag Race and wore it on Drag Race. Because that is what's going to give that pageant system that bad look of you, I guess. Maybe. If I'm saying that properly without trying to be mean.
Yeah. No, I get it.
And with those many queens, it's time to see our newest stars on the screen.
Amber, let's get ready for this very heated episode of
Rage These
Queens. After viewing this very controversial episode of RuPaul's Drag Race Season 16, I could not wait for us to get into it.
Now let's take that view to a review.
So this episode starts off very interesting.
It's interesting.
It does start off very, very shady. It starts off with Q being very upset that she did not win the last episode.
Which, I mean, she did very well.
Yeah.
I was impressed. Honestly, I thought she had a very good chance of winning it.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, at the same time, be proud of Nymphia, because Nymphia did very well as well.
Mm. Yeah, I don't know. She just kind of showed a lot of, I don't want to say negativity, but she was bringing a lot of people down. She was like, I got no negative critiques, and Nymphia got a negative critique.
But that doesn't necessarily mean anything.
Yeah.
Just because, especially for a challenge that has 3 different looks.
Yeah.
Just because there was one negative critique doesn't mean it was bad.
Yeah. And I don't know if you noticed, but there was a zoom in on Plain Jane when we were talking about the Untucked drama.
Mm-hmm.
Did you notice the tear stain on Plain Jane's makeup?
I did.
Was Shady Jane in tears?
Was Cocky Jane crying?
I don't know. I was just like, what's going on?
Did she feel bad?
Ooh, I don't know.
Was she sincere in her apology?
It could have been from the Untucked drama because, as mentioned, they do discuss that, which a lot of it was Plain Jane coming for a mandatory meeting.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if off camera she was red for filth and it hurt her feelings.
Possibly. Because she came hard for a mandatory meeting.
And I have to say, I love the shade that Plain Jane throws.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, there is a limit.
And sometimes it's not asked for.
Right, especially when Amanda knows, she did horrible to begin with.
Yeah, you don't have to
openly admitted
it. Yeah, you do not have to remind
So I feel like she did go a little much. Although I love the shade and I love the tea, it was a little extra.
Yeah. And as Morphine mentioned, it was okay for their group to do it because they saw it. Plain Jane did not see it and did not witness it. Then RuPaul comes into the workroom and announces that today's Maxi Challenge is RDR Live, which is a Saturday Night Live spinoff with a Drag Race, feel. We saw this in All Stars 8. And I feel like we've seen it again somewhere else, but I don't know where. A big thing that RuPaul tells us is they get to choose their own cast.
Mm-hmm.
They get to do their own casting. And when it comes to this, there's not really a lot of shade or tea that comes with casting. They're all kind of friendly and kumbaya.
They already kind of know where they want to go.
Yeah.
Which, I guess makes it easier.
Yeah.
Especially for a challenge like what they had. Yeah, we love the shade, but I feel like for certain challenges, you have to be a group to be able to not only pull it off as a group, especially if you're judged as a group, but to pull it off for yourself as well, because you're going to pull it off working off others.
Yeah. And it was very, there was a little bit of switcheroo. Saphira did want the hosting spot, and then Mirage mentioned that she wanted the hosting spot, and then Saphira was like, okay, have it.
And Saphira did not get that up easy, girl.
Yeah.
she was salty about that.
And then there was Dawn being a little sneaky goblin.
Oh,
and getting her way.
I didn't think I'd ever see that side of Dawn. I kind of like that side of Dawn.
And I have a feeling that she just wanted to be in partnership with Amanda. Because they're really good friends. And I don't blame them because they did end up working very well together.
Mm-hmm. Maybe Dawn can show her some makeup tips.
But through that we see that Plasma role gets switched up, and we see, as you mentioned, Plasma giving very Rachel Berry.
she's giving very Jan with Rachel Berry.
She's obsessed with the Barb, of course, that being Barbara Streisand. And she just conveys that she is about to be the best Barbara Streisand ever.
It wasn't the best ever, but I wasn't mad at it.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie.
It was just, she was giving me very annoying.
Right.
She was giving me that, Rachel Berry.
No tea, no shade. We both are obsessed with Glee. We love Glee.
Oh, hands down.
We both equally hate Rachel Berry, but love Rachel Berry.
I was at the same time, yeah.
Just like we both equally hate Jan, love Jan.
Yeah.
So,
but for me, there's a difference with Plasma. It's so, cocky theater, it reads as privileged, and that's what I think I hate about it.
It's not theater gay, it's theater gay.
Yeah.
It's theater twink is what it is.
She's just very annoying to me, to be honest.
I don't know. She's growing on me.
In result that we see is that they're all pretty interesting roles.
They are.
Like we see apparently Plasma is a comedy queen. Apparently Mirage is a host. Apparently Megami is slutty.
I know, I heard slutty, I was like, where?
Yeah, they're very interesting roles for everyone.
I mean, I give Mirage, the kudos for at least trying.
Yeah.
But that's about it.
Yeah.
I mean, the attempt was there. It's the effort that counts.
And then we see Ross Matthews walk into the room.
Yes!
I'm obsessed with Ross Matthews.
What was his name?
Ross Matthews.
No, what was his name?
I don't remember. I don't remember.
Because they said that name and I was like, not Ross.
Yeah. But Ross Matthews comes into the workroom to kind of like talk to the queens, give them a little rundown of what's about to go on. And I kind of wish they would bring out like the Bossy Rossi show back again. That was really fun. I love the Bossy Rossi show.
I also really loved like the Bachelorette take on, or I guess it was a Bachelor take. One as well.
And something that I found interesting when Ross was kind of talking to the queens in the group is we find out they get a teleprompter, which is very interesting. I kind of like the idea that like they're giving them help now,
right?
You know what I mean? Because remembering lines is hard, and when you have very limited time, and not to mention you're under a stressful environment, I could only imagine how much harder it is,
especially with like producers and directors that are like, "Come on, let's go."
Yeah. I don't know. It was interesting to me and it caught my ear. You know what I mean? I was like, oh wow, that's very nice to hear. And then we see Saphira being a little bit shady.
Yeah.
With talking about giving Mirage the role.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't think she was doing it out of shade. I think she genuinely, and this isn't me being biased because she is one of my favorite of the season, but I think she has a big heart and she was just allowing Mirage to have what she felt comfortable with. I don't think she was being shady personally.
I definitely feel the level of wanting something and not getting it kind of shade. Mm-hmm. That's different than just being shady in general. That's more so like, I'm giving you this, you better not f it up, pretty much. And unfortunately Mirage did. I'm kind of curious to see what Saphira would have been, or would have done with it, honestly. Yeah.
And then getting ready for RDR Live, something randomly that I noted was we find out that a mandatory meeting was a ghostwriter for OnlyFans.
Yeah.
Or is currently a ghostwriter for OnlyFans. I thought that was crazy. I thought that was so stupid.
Wait, do we fire her like these teachers began fired for OnlyFans?
Yeah, we keep seeing the South Park commercial of the...
That was boring as hell.
Yeah, I liked it. I thought it was fun. Let's really quickly just touch up on RDR Live. We're going to kind of give the individual queens a mention of rating when we do the ratings later on with the runway. But just to briefly touch up on what happened in RDR Live, we are immediately greeted with Tsunami and Morphine, who are very boring.
Very boring.
And they're also very, very notably bad at acting.
They really are. They tried.
You could definitely tell they tried. And then this is also where Maya gets her 2 seconds of fame in the whole entire RDR Live.
I already said
you literally missed it. But she was funny in the 2 seconds that she was in there, but that was it. And I felt like she should have made so much more of the 2 seconds that she had.
See, I feel like you can, if you have 2 seconds, you can be funny. But is it funny enough to remember?
Yeah.
And that's the thing, like, the smallest part has to be the biggest part.
Yeah.
I was wondering where she was, and you're like, oh, she was in the first one. I was like,
yeah.
Where?
And not to mention, like, this little intro, it was the intro skit before you get and live for New York, it's Saturday Night Live, whatever. And this one was themed to the apocalypse, the world ending. And she was just kind of quiet and, like,
she was just there.
Calm, you know what I mean? And I'm just like, girl, the world's ending. Like, react, you know what I mean?
I don't know. I feel like she's just... I at this point, being, this is the 4th episode now? I feel... I've expected so much more of her. Especially with her status outside of Drag Race. And
she is also a pageant queen.
I'm unfortunately very disappointed in her.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say that about anybody, but at the same time, like, girl, you're on Drag Race.
Well, I mean, someone who I was disappointed was Gina McClar, who in this also did not do it for me. Her acting was bad. She looked horrible. I get it. She has an accent, but she was to portray a Southern woman, and it was not Southern at all.
Right.
And not to mention, she lives in Texas.
And so she should know Southern.
Yeah, like...
I feel like she was better than the other two.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she cracked a joke, and that was it.
Hey, yeah.
So I feel like her and Saphira are at the same level. Just Geneva had a longer part and didn't do anything with it, to where Saphira had a shorter part and didn't do anything with it.
Yeah. But then after this little skit where we get, honestly, I would say probably the three worst of, in my opinion, the episode or the segment. After this, we get the cute little intro. You know, the live from New York. I don't even know what they said. Did they say live from wherever? I don't remember.
All I heard was Liza Minnelli.
Yeah. But the intro was cute with, like, where it was showing all the cast, and the cast was, like, being portrayed as, like, their individual characters.
I don't know. I feel like the intro it threw me off to see the first skit and then go through the intro with each individual person.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like they should, if they were going to do an intro with each individual person, it should have been before the first skit. Question mark.
Well, have you never seen Saturday Night Live?
Well, yes, I have, but I don't know. I guess Saturday Night Live has always confused me as well with that.
It's like how on my YouTube videos I do a little intro before my intro.
Okay, but you do an intro, not a whole skit.
Whenever the intro is started, we find the host Mirage on the stage, which I thought was really cute that they went back to the main stage to do this intro or the
she was good
part.
too.
Yeah. And Mirage sounded like an actual host.
She did.
Mirage sounded like she was actually hosting Saturday Night Live. And she was funny.
She was. I just... I feel like she should have done more with her body. Because she literally... or what we would call in drag a park and bark.
Yeah.
She literally stood there and just said the words that she needed to say. And cracked a few jokes.
Yeah, and the jokes were cracking in my opinion.
They were funny. Yeah. They were funny.
But then, we had a lot of... And the main awkward moment of Mirage was there was a pause after she set up... She paused and then was like, applause. And I was like, what?
Yeah, I was like...
And then that's kind of where we saw it trickle down because she kind of... faded after that.
I wonder if she just didn't get the response that she wanted, so it kind of like made her nervous. Yeah. Maybe pulled out her inner saboteur.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Or maybe they were applauding and it threw her off, and then she was like, wait, more applause. And then that threw her off. I don't know. But then she tells us that RuPaul is going to be the musical guest, which is interesting.
But also sickening. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, we recently have been getting more of RuPaul performing on Drag Race, and I'm here for it. You know what I mean? Like, I loved it. I'm very glad that she still loves to perform, you know?
Especially being, you and I sat here the other night, and we're trying to find videos of her performing, because, I mean, we've barely ever seen her perform, and really the only performing videos that she has are from the 80s and 90s. Recently, she's not really a big performer anymore. But I mean, then again, she's also RuPaul, so I get it.
And then we're getting to the actual RDR live, and we have our first skit with Megami and Plain Jane, and they are serving this little teaser of a deck commercial. That's a deck with, you're not going to hear a bleep here, because that's DECK. Megami was serving me kind of like a B. Arthur vibe, but like as a slut, and I was here
I was like, slutty where?
Yeah.
Where was she supposed to be slutty at?
I loved it, though.
They were hilarious, too.
And Plain Jane as well was very funny. She was giving me very much so Jimbo and All Stars 8 of the RDR Live.
She's been giving us Jimbo since she walked in the workroom.
Yeah.
I love that Jimbo sense of humor. I hope that she doesn't rely on that, because eventually that's going to get old and it's going to start seeming like a copycat. And so many people have already made the comments about her copying Jimbo that I don't want it to be true. So I hope she just minds it.
Yeah. And then after their little skit, which I thoroughly enjoyed, we get RuPaul's performance as the musical guest. She was incredible, looked incredible. She was a hootin' and tootin' in this little cowgirl gig,
Tracy,
which I thoroughly enjoyed. She did look like Trixie on All Stars 3. And RuPaul's her was incredible.
So can we talk about how it wasn't huge, but it wasn't small?
It was so tight to the body, to the silhouette.
Perfect.
Next up in the RDR Live, we have the Q&N segment, which is like the news network. For this, we have Amanda and Dawn, and then we have a special guest of Q later on. But Amanda really, really fit this role, like, perfectly, to be honest.
She really impressed me with this, especially because she's just had a bad run with between looks and face and, you know, just challenges in general. Like, I was very proud of her with this. She really pulled it off. And
although Dawn kind of faded a little bit for me, I feel like she tried something and it didn't go as far as she wanted it to. I felt like Amanda really excelled, and I felt like they were a pretty good team, and I felt like they were cute together. They looked like you could tell they were having a good time. So I think they made the right decision to switch up the roles to get that way. But
I feel like Dawn shouldn't have faded into the background, which, you know me, I'm all for trying new things, but is Drag Race really the place to try new things?
I mean, that's fair.
I mean, if you know how to do something, you should just do it your way. Which, I mean, slay, but like, slay?
Question mark. And then Q is introduced as the brick, who was thrown that was Stonewall, which I lived for. She was very, very funny. She was very in character. I loved her outfit. I thought it was incredibly funny.
I thought it was iconic, especially being for those that don't know, you know, about Stonewall or that specific brick, like, and the significance of it. I feel like being able to take a piece of history and making it funny so many years later just helps it, you know, it helps the situation. Yeah, my favorite quote I think of the year so far came from Q with this with this portrayal, which was gay liberation with my body. I'm so weak. I think that was the best line of that iconic. So iconic. Yeah. In the next skit, we have the quartet members, which I was a little confused by. Were they all supposed to be like Barbara Streisand fans? Like, or were they supposed to be individually representing someone? I was very confused. I don't know, because the only one that gave it Barbara Streisand was Plasma. Exactly. Because that was Plasma. Why would it be her specifically, though? You know what I mean? Who else would there be? Because there was no... You see what I'm saying? Right. I was very confused by the quartets. Right. Which, I mean, they sounded great together, though. All three of them did. I did not expect them to pull those notes off. And there were two that were kind of a miss, and then there was one that was kind of a hiss, although I don't want to admit it. We had Nymphia, who was not funny to me. Which is surprising. Yeah, Nymphia was not funny. She did not especially when she come in well. The workroom comedy at the beginning. Yeah. Plasma was a lot. She was dumb. Good. She was funny. I don't want to admit that, but she was funny. I will give it to her. I'm telling you are underrating Plasma. I promise you. She just is so much to me. And, you know, Florian is obsessed with Plasma too. And I don't get the obsession. But you're also so much. And we like you. Whatever. And then we had Saphira, who is funny. Who is funny. She was funny, but she was kind of lackluster. You could tell she was kind of playing it soft. I didn't get funny from her. I thought she was funny. I got trying to be funny, which I support, but she's just there to me. Yeah. Unfortunately. And then we have closing out the show, Mirage again, which overall, just want to point out, I genuinely thought Mirage was an incredible host. I genuinely think Mirage did very well. Yeah. I think she could have given it a little bit more as a host, especially for two people that have been hosts. Yeah. Or are currently hosts. You, not me. Oh, the shade. At yourself. I feel like she could have given it a little bit more, but I was genuinely happy.
Getting into the runway, we had a night of 1,000 shares, which I was thinking the other day about all of I actually saw a YouTube video, and it was like all of the celebrities who have had a runway on Drag Race. And I was like, there hasn't been a share. There hasn't.
No.
And even when they did share the Rusical, it still wasn't.
Which is funny because coincidentally, on my party bus I was on earlier, they were trying to think of a song to play, and I turned around and I was like, Cher. Yeah. I love Cher. And we clearly love Cher because Cher. Oh, share the podcast in the video, by the way. Share. Insert commercial.
First up on the runway, we had Tsunami, who was giving the prisoner share. I hated the wig.
You only hated the wig because you hate tinsel wigs.
I do, yeah.
I'm going to call you out on that now because I know that's why you hate
it. I'm not going to lie, that kind of immediately ruined the entire look.
And I knew it was going to. However,
well, that and the wings. The wings were kind of cheap.
I've seen that too. However,
we had cheaper wings though. We'll get into that.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. However, I think it was a little plain, but I think it was played off well with the wig and the wings, especially because, you know, I'm not a big fan of tinsel wigs, but Cher can wear a tinsel wig. Like, it's Cher. Yeah. So if you're portraying Cher and you wear a tinsel wig, the reference is there enough for it to be okay. Yeah. I know you don't look around those things, but some of us do.
Yeah. Even if Dolly Parton wore a tinsel wig, I'd be like, no.
But Dolly's not known for a tinsel wig, though.
Exactly. Because Cher is. She's smart.
Well, Cher's smart because it made her famous, girl.
Getting into the challenge, she was boring. She did not do it for me. It was a no for me. So overall, I'm going to give Tsunami a 5. She's not cutting it for me.
She's so understepping it.
Yeah. Underplaying.
Yeah, okay. You see the route I'm going. Yeah, I'd give her a 5. Yeah. Honestly, no, I'd give her a 6 only because I genuinely did like her runway and the creativity of it, especially for Cher. But her performance really just knocked quite a few points off of it. Yeah.
Next up, we have the Spicy Morphine, who was serving the Academy Cher. I thought it was everything. The nude illusion, the hair, the black. Oh,
the face.
She layered the black and texturized the black so well so that it didn't just fade. The face was incredible. I thought the runway was absolutely incredible and definitely a step up from the towel look.
I don't know. I feel like I feel like wasn't there a queen that had a look of some sort that resembled this in some kind of way?
You're probably thinking
that it was horrible.
I don't know.
I don't remember. Her face was giving, but I feel like for Cher, I feel like she should have toned her face down just a little bit more, just to match the vibe. Not saying her face was horrible. I just feel like for the challenge and the idea of Cher, she could have softened it up a little bit. Yeah, but it was cute.
But as for the challenge itself, once again with Tsunami, she was boring.
She
missed the mark for me. And for that, I'm going to have to give her a 6. She just was not in the right aim for me.
I'd give her a 5. I don't know. I know she has more. She showed us more before. And I don't want her stepping down.
Speaking of stepping down, someone who took a very big step this week for me, mainly because I don't remember her at all, was Maya.
Who?
Maya.
I don't know who that is.
Who in the runway gave burlesque share, which was very boring. You mentioned gave very club drag. It was not cute at all.
It was very local girl.
Yeah. And then her in the challenge, I totally forgot about her. I did not realize she was even there. And for this, I'm gonna have to give her a 4.
I'd give her a 2.
Yeah.
Like literally, her runway is what you or I would have performed in. On a regular Friday night or Saturday night. It just was
not it for me.
It's not it for Drag Race.
And another one who was quite disappointing on the runway and in the challenge was Geneva, who was serving Ringmaster Cher, and we noticed something about her every single time, and it's the length of her silhouettes.
Does she not know how to properly...
They don't go to her shoe. They stop right at her shoe. And this was another example of this. And then she had the bad acting.
That was horrible.
And the RDR Live. And they were just as bad as the lengths.
That's horrible.
So for me, it's a 3, to be honest. It was not hitting for me this week.
I'd give her a 2. I don't know. So many of these girls, we put so much thought and brag into.
And they just did not serve to expectations.
And they haven't since, and we're only 4 episodes in.
Yeah. But on the opposite side of the spectrum, someone who I did not put a lot of expectation into and who has been gagging me thus far is Mirage, who is next up and serving the 1979 concert share. And I loved this outfit. I love the color. I love the hair. I love the feathers. I love the silhouette. It was incredible.
And performance-wise, I personally feel like she did good.
Yeah, Mirage was incredible in the acting challenge. She was incredible on the runway. I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna give her a 9.
I'll give her an 8 only because I feel like she could have just added a little bit more to her performance. Mm-hmm. And me personally, like I had said earlier, I pay attention more to the challenge than I do the outfits. The outfits are kind of like the brownie points kind of thing. Like, you did this bad, but this kind of adds to it. Or you did great, plus you did this. Like, so. And
then someone who did pretty mediocre both in the challenge and on the runway was Megami, who on the runway was serving Turn Back Timeshare. And I thought it was honestly more funnier than it was, like, elegant. Which I don't know if is, like, a good thing with the runway.
Megami the one that resembled Maya on the runway?
Sort of, yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought.
It was a resemblance to Eureka whenever they would share the musical.
But their outfits look the same.
Yeah.
It literally looked like
they come out another bad thing is, like, it's 2 totally different topics. Mm-hmm. I thought it was cute, and in the challenge, I thought she was okay.
Oh, I thought she was great in the challenge.
I thought she had a pretty decent week, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So for me, Megami was a 7.
I'll give her a 6. Especially being, I mean, she was voted in the bottom during the Raid of Queens.
And she's proving to be pretty decent.
But she's only jumped up like a spot or 2.
Yeah.
So
she's proving not to be the lowest of the lowest, I will say that.
But she's also not proving to be the best of the best.
Yeah.
So I really hope we get more of her.
Next up on the runway, we have Megami's scene partner, Plain Jane, who was serving on the runway. She was serving Cher's Met Gala from 1974.
It was sickening.
I thought this was incredible. There was a little major issue for me with the silhouette at the bottom, and I don't know what it was. But to be honest, it was too good to care about.
See, and like, we all have those very simple mistakes, but as long as you can not only pull the outfit off, but work the runway with it, like I said, episodes before, like, that's something that can be overlooked, because that outfit was sickening. I'd wear it. Yeah. I want it on my body. That is, mwah, chef's kiss.
I agree. And she was really, really good in the challenge. I will say, if anything, she was a little forgettable. You know,
she made it funny though,
especially since she did kind of play that Jimbo character. It did become a little forgettable for me. So overall, I would give Plain Jane an 8.
I'll give her an 8 as well, especially because of the outfit. It was sickening.
On the opposite side of the spectrum, someone who is not very good or known for their outfits, we have a mandatory meeting.
Oh, that's even.
Who was serving the shared doll, which I thought was a pretty interesting take from 2001. I thought it was slay. I thought the outfit was cute. I still hate her makeup. She has not improved on her makeup, in my opinion.
Looks the same.
Just bigger and blown out.
And I'm kind of getting tired of it. Like, can we at least... And I genuinely think it's just in the eye. Mm-hmm. She keeps doing the same eye over and over again. But her outfit was sickening.
Yeah. The role on the challenge, she did play it pretty well. She played the role pretty spot on. She was very believable. I thought she was overall decent this week. I didn't think she was bad as she has been. So, you know, just for the effort, and you know what, just to mess with her, I'm going to give her the same rating as Plain Jane, which is an 8.
The shade. Oh, the tea, girl. Shady. I'm also gonna give her an 8 only because during the challenge, her face was pretty blended.
Yeah.
I was very impressed with that, and her voice really fit that role.
Yeah, it really did.
So she didn't impress me, but she impressed me enough. She went from the purple people eater to
yeah, that part
to blended at least.
And then her bestie in the competition, next up we had Dawn, Who on the runway was serving Mod Share from 66. I love this, and I thought it was incredibly smart how it was a black and white photo, so she did these incredible, like, different colored patterns.
Because you don't know the color of
exactly.
it.
So I thought that was so smart. That was so smart.
And I love that light blue and that, it was red, wasn't it? That she picked. I loved those colors together with that white. It worked so well.
And I think there was a pop of yellow in there too.
Was there a yellow in there?
I think so. I think it was red, yellow, and blue.
It was
so cute.
There's so many queens walking down the runway. I'm trying to remember everything.
It was so good. I loved it. In the challenge, she was good. She did slack a little bit, as mentioned, but she was overall pretty good. I'm gonna give her a 9, specifically because of the runway idea of making the black and white colorful.
I don't know. I'd give her a 7. Because I don't know. Amanda did better than her. And for somebody that has been at the lowest of the competition, you don't need that girl being better than you. And I don't know. Dawn's just kind of falling back. I don't know. Did she give too much stamina at the beginning? Is she slowing down because she gave too much?
I don't know. I just kind of feel like this really wasn't her time to shine.
Which, it could just be the challenge in general.
Yeah, because if you really think about it, like, the challenge compared to the runway, she excelled incredibly in the runway, but not so much in the challenge.
And not everybody's good at every challenge. So, I guess I'm just being biased. And
to be honest, I really would have loved to see her do, like, the opening skit with, like, the world ending scene. I feel like she would have done really good in that.
I feel like she would have been good as a host as well.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. And then with their guest, the Brick, we had next up Q, who was serving Comedy Hour 73 Share. I loved the black and white. Those who know me know black and white is, like, one of my favorite color schemes ever.
It was everything in that face.
Yes.
Mama.
And it was giving such Bianca Del Rio.
I love Q's face. Q's face is everything. And, like, she contours dark, but it's, like, the right and the correct dark contour. And it looks so good on her.
Yeah. And then, of course, she was incredible in the challenge. As mentioned, she was the Brick who stole... not only Stonewall, but...
Stole Stonewall.
Party Our Live. So, through and through, she was incredible this week. And I will openly admit that I'm going to give her a 10.
I'm going to give her a 10 because, I mean, it was the Brick that gave us our lives. Yeah. So, slay. And she's just sickening in general. She's, not going to lie, she's rating top on my list right now. So.
And she's kind of remained consistently in the top for you since we started the podcast. So.
She really had two of mine so far.
Next up, speaking of Brick, we have Plasma. She was serving Met Gala in 85. I did not like it. Everyone liked it. At first, I'm going to be a little, Plasma hatred, but I thought the top part besides the wig was good. The wig was way too flat for her. The bottom part was way too boring.
I thought it was sickening.
Of course you did.
I thought it was different. She normally gives this old school, and I think this is the first time I've seen her not in that old school character. And I don't know, it really surprised me.
So you're saying when she was serving Plasma, or when she was serving Barbara Streisand and RDR Live, she was not giving that old school energy?
No, I'm talking about her runway.
Okay, so you're saying when she's serving Cher in 1985, she's not giving that old school energy?
No, she didn't. Okay. Not her old school.
It's just because she had a flat wig.
So do you.
That is a lie. I never had a flat wig, and you know that is a lie.
I got flat wigs, girl, so we can flip them. I don't know. It was a different look for me. I was kind of looking for it. She looked good. You just hate.
I thought
You're a hateful gay.
I thought she was decent in the challenge. I just did not live for this look. I would give her an 8.
I'm gonna give her a 10 because I mean, at least in the challenge, we knew who she was, aside from everybody else in the group. And I really enjoyed her look.
Next up, Blowing in the Wind from that 10, we have Nymphia Wynn.
That was so easy.
Who was serving Egyptian Cher from 1979. I hated the cape. The cape was the cheap cape that I was talking about earlier.
It was given very Pharaoh.
It was so cheap.
It was definitely...
The booby part was serving, though.
Yeah, I feel like if she did it without the cape, it would have been sickening. The body was bodying. Can we talk about the blend of her tight color with her skin, though. Her tights matched her skin tone.
I will
Showing
say,
so much skin.
It was
to be able to blend that.
It was pretty unclockable, and the only thing that set it off for me was when you like zoomed in, I could see the fishnets. Mm-hmm. That was the only thing.
Right. She was definitely very skin tone.
Yeah.
Top to bottom.
I don't know. I thought the runway was cheap, and I thought the acting in RDR Live was not very good. So I'm gonna have to give her a 6.
I'm gonna give her a 7, which is sad because she's our winner from last episode. What happened?
It's fading in the
Did we
background.
Go too hard at the beginning?
No. Someone else who kind of faded in the background this episode a little is Safira Cristal, the one for all.
She's trying to be for all.
And the runway, she was giving Vegas resident Cher from 2017. I was obsessed with this outfit.
I was looking for it.
The afro was incredible. The color was incredible. The overall outfit was just 10 out of 10 for me.
It was sickening.
Yeah. Although she was meh in the RDR Live, like I said, the runway really brought it through. I'm going to give her an 8 for this challenge.
I'm going to give her a 7, only because of her challenge itself.
It did just a little bit.
I don't know. So many of these girls were so good, and now they're just
lacking.
Q so far is the only one that hasn't died down from such a strong streak. She's keeping her streak going.
Yeah. After the runway and a little bit of the deliberations, we find out that no one chooses to use their potion for immunity this week.
Which is Safira and Plain Jane.
In deliberation with Maya, they try to get a little bit of her personality out. She tries to speak like Cher and ends up sounding like Barney. She definitely was giving Barney tease.
And the fact that Rue's like, do it again.
Yeah.
Just so they can get a laugh out of it. I live for that.
Was so funny.
That was hilarious. But that was better than her performance in the challenge.
Through deliberations, we find out that the top 3 is Q, Plain Jane, and Plasma, and we find out the win goes to Plasma.
Okay.
I'm so confused.
Okay. So, I love Plasma. Plasma, I personally feel was sickening. Did she have a running for that number 1 spot? Yes. However, Q was robbed of it.
Yeah.
And I will not say Q was robbed of at the last episode because it could have been her or Nymphia.
Yeah.
It was definitely Nymphia. But she was robbed of this one. I feel like Plasma was definitely she deserved to be in the top. But she did not deserve to be first.
Yeah, no, I agree. Q is definitely my win for the week. Very confusing. And I cannot wait to see how this affects Q.
She already voiced her opinion.
Towards Nymphia, yeah. But this is only the start of the very confusing ladder that we get into. Because I have some questions. Why was Maya safe? Maya was not good on the runway, and I don't remember her in the challenge. Why was Maya safe? Because then we get into the aspect of Mirage. Why was Mirage even low? Why was she placed low at all?
I don't even know.
I'm genuinely confused.
I enjoyed Mirage so much. I guess there's something that we missed? ?
I'm genuinely confused. But we find out that the bottom 2 placements are Geneva and Mirage.
And
which
this is Geneva's 2nd time in the bottom?
Yeah. And she's not serving it for me. She's just not doing it for me. The lip sync song is Dark Lady by, of course, the legendary Cher. And Mirage gives her everything.
But she don't know
the
word.
And to quote Michelle, not one word.
Not one word.
Not one word.
Not a single word.
Yeah.
She served that stage though.
She did.
Hands down,
she served
it.
She did the click clacks. She did the body rolls.
But
she
was
incredible.
Were the words?
Yeah.
You do realize a lip sync for your life has to involve a lip sync, right?
Yeah. And as I mentioned when we were watching it, my only thing that I can think of is she thought she was not going to be in the bottom. And I don't blame her because I did not think she was going to be in the bottom. I thought the bottom 2 were Geneva and Maya.
I also, when we had that conversation, said maybe be ready just in case because you never know how something's going to go down. But I can say at least she wasn't Valentina and at least hiding her face because she didn't know the words. At least she knowingly went into the lip sync and would show you that she didn't know the words. So props for that.
But unfortunately, through not knowing words, Mirage does sashay away, which I don't really get emotional with eliminations, but I will say I was genuinely kind of shook.
I actually laid here next to you and cried. Not gonna lie.
It was very emotional. And not like Nivea mentioned, to see someone's dream like get ripped away, but let alone someone who genuinely did good.
And to see it in front of you and not only watch somebody else go through it, but know that you could potentially be next.
Yeah.
Like,
it was heartbreaking.
I cried. It was, we say all the time, we don't like, that crybaby.
We don't, no.
On stage, but hers was genuine. Yeah. And I really felt her, especially because I don't think she should have been in the bottom.
And she even said, like, she was so disappointed in herself. Like, that's the main reason she was upset.
Which I give her props for, for realizing, the things that she did wrong. And I don't know, but she just, she wasn't that bad. Yeah. And like I said earlier, if they bring a queen back, it better be her. It or definitely boycott drag.
But through us rating these queens, we have a top 3 and a bottom 2. The top 3 are number 1 place with 20 points. We had Q.
Slay.
Which makes sense. I definitely feel like she should have won this week. Next up, we had, shockingly for me, was Plasma.
That's because you don't like her. I don't. You don't like the theater gays. Yeah.
But she had 18, and then coming in third, which, interestingly, was Mirage with 17.
Maybe we should host Drag Race.
And then the last 2, we really couldn't narrow a third for the bottom 3 because the only one in place was Tsunami and Morphine, who both for us had 11 points.
They're kind of like 50-50.
Yeah.
And so I wouldn't want to demote them down to that.
Yeah. But our bottom 2 higher one was Maya with 6 points. And then our lower one was Geneva with 5 points, which I feel like makes sense. And I feel like should have been the bottom 2.
And Geneva should have went home.
Yeah.
Or vice versa at this point.
Yeah.
Because at this point, either them could have went home.
Mirage was the one to be sent home. And I'm a little disappointed because she was one that I was rooting for. I'm not going to lie.
I really was. Especially to think of her entrance look to now. Where we were like, this girl. Yeah. She's given sugar and spice. And then she blew us away. And we've been rooting for her ever. The world's been rooting for her. She's been a topic the last 4 weeks.
Her TikTok like blew up.
The last 4 weeks, she's been a nonstop topic around the world. And to see her have to sashay away, it really breaks me. Yeah. I saw so much potential in her. But she will be doing great things, so. And she is.
With one of my favorites gone, with being Mirage, I think the ones I have an eye out for now are still Dawn, Saphira, and I think I'm going to say Q.
You better say Q.
I haven't.
She's the only consistent one.
Q-sistent one?
Even Nymphia dropped down.
Who do you see in your top views?
So my last week's was Nymphia, Q, and Dawn. Definitely given Q and Plasma. I would say Mirage, but I'm gonna have to go Plain Jane then. Because Plain Jane although she's very shady, she's kind of serving a little bit.
And I genuinely cannot wait to see what they serve next week for the Girl Group Challenge. So don't forget to catch the new season of RuPaul's Drag Race on MTV every Friday.
And of course, come to the channel every Wednesday to listen to us rate these queens.
New. So this week on Newer News, we have quite a bit of news to bring to you. So let's get into it. First off, with that being, Country Queens auditions are now officially open.
Yeehaw!
Literally. And major thing with that is it is an audition tape. That's something that was kind of, reworked. So it's a simple audition tape. It's 15 minutes. It takes very little of your time, to be honest. All you have to do is you can go to any of my socials to find the Google Doc, and it has a bunch of questions on it. You just answer those questions. It's a personality segment of the audition tape. And you can do that in and out of drag. That's totally your preference. It's like 8 questions. Not much at all.
And honestly, I like the idea of it, especially for anybody that in the future will apply for like RuPaul. It gives them a good attempt.
Apply for RuPaul. I hate when people say just RuPaul.
Audition for RuPaul's Drag Race.
Not even apply. I hate when people just say like RuPaul. I feel like it's pretty simple alone. Ideally, that should only take like 10 minutes of the audition tape. The next segment of the audition tape is the looks segment, which is just you showing off your drag looks. And this is very simple as well. All we ask for you is to just show a few pictures of your drag looks, and you can do this any way you want. And that's the main thing about this audition tape is when I was creating this Google Doc, I wanted it to be like full range freedom. You know what I mean?
We want to see your creativity.
Yeah, exactly. And
you can even do it in a runway style if you want to. It doesn't have to be
Yeah,
pictures.
I was like, I literally put in there, you can literally do a runway if you want. But if you don't, you can do pictures, you know what I mean? And then just to end off the audition tape, a segment with your performance video. So just a video of you performing. All of this should roughly be around 15 minutes. If it goes over, it's not a huge deal. We're not going to immediately eliminate you from casting just because you went over a few minutes.
With range.
Yeah.
With range.
Obviously 20 is a little too much. But it's pretty simple. There is time running out on this. This is due February 7th. But yeah, it's now open to anyone 18 plus. It was originally 21 plus. Now, thankfully, it's 18 plus. So anyone in Alabama who wants to be on this reality series, make sure to go onto my social medias to find that Google Doc and get the instructions because, as mentioned, the time is running out.
When you go into the Google Docs, make sure you please read everything in the Google Docs. Quite a few questions that have been asked. The answers are in the Google Doc.
Please, for the love of God, I'm trying to be nice when I'm getting these questions, but they're getting hard because these questions get dumber and dumber. Please read the document.
Plus, there's a teaser video with the information as well.
I promise you, and as you mentioned, the teaser video, there's also frequently asked questions in the comment section with answers on that teaser video, which is on my Facebook. It is as simple as I could make it.
It took her like 10 minutes.
Yeah, I promise you, I tried to make it as simple as possible.
It's simpler than our lives.
Yeah. But February 7th, don't forget it. Make sure to get it in. This week's newest video on the YouTube channel was actually a first of the kind and was very fun,
and
honestly.
We love firsts.
Yeah. It was the Preferred Trivia Show. It was as you could mention, a trivia show where I had special guests Florian and Amber herself play a trivia based on several different categories, including Drag Race, queer history, and the preferred few. And it was very fun. I thought it was a lot of fun recording. I thought it was super easy recording. And the editing process was so fun. I could not stop laughing while editing the actual film or the actual, video. I thought it was a great video. So everyone should go give it a watch at The Only Preferred on YouTube. If you're watching this on YouTube, you should already be there. But I thought it was cute. And let me know in the comment if you would like to see more of those. I had the idea whenever we recorded it because it was so simple and so fun to do more of those. I'm trying to do like a stagger with my videos where I'm doing the preferred few once a month, 2 other videos in between, and 1 video relating to the preferred show every month. So I have essentially 2 videos to kind of fill in for. And the preferred trivia was so fun. So if y'all would like to see more of those, make sure to go comment on that video, and I would easily give you more of those. They were so fun.
I had fun doing it.
And we can, switch up the guests. I actually, depending on how that one goes, I actually have 2 other guests set up to film another one.
Is Gina one of them?
No.
Oh.
Not planned. I would love to have Gina on it, but she is not planned at the moment.
If you have Gina, it's got to be me and Gina. You can also catch Miss Sajay Preferred on my stomping grounds at the Quest Club this coming Friday, the 2nd. She'll be our guest spot, as I am on cast there every single Friday night. So come and catch us at the Quest Club in Birmingham. Mm-hmm. We're gonna twirl the house down boots, girl.
And if you've been watching this channel, you might have noticed the Quest has been talked about a lot on this channel, and some of it's not always in the brightest light. But one thing I do want to point out is the show director is completely different. There's a brand new show director who I am actually heavily inspired by. It is Miss Victoria Taylor. So that night it will be Victoria Taylor, yourself, and I.
My grandmother in drag.
Yes, and I have always loved Victoria Taylor. When I first got to Birmingham, she was like one of my first people that I saw in drag. And she was a big girl then. She's been on a
She looks
weight
so
loss.
good now.
Yes.
Her waist is so snatched. Just wait till you see her come Friday.
I absolutely love Victoria. When I found out she was the brand new show director, I was like, yes, I will work with you all the time. She is super nice, super kind. When it came to making the flyer, which should be out by the time we actually already have it, just hasn't been posted, which should be out by the time this is coming out. She was so nice about it. She was like, do you have any pictures that you prefer? You know, she was very accommodating. And my name, I mentioned that in the group chat when she sent it to us. A lot of people get my name incorrect.
Because they don't add the tick.
Yeah, the little accent. And that's a huge deal. Believe it or not, that's a huge deal for me. Because out of drag, my name is Sage, which is without the accent. And when I don't see the accent, it really throws me off. And a lot of times it makes me think, well, why should I have spent an hour and a half putting drag on?
Just for you to be
literally called out a drag name. She was incredibly accommodating to that. Did not have to ask her to fix it at all. Immediately got it correct. So I will always appreciate her for that.
And it is a huge vibe in the dressing room with her. She is a hoot. Like, I genuinely love Victoria. So yeah, it's definitely gonna be fun. And then the week after you come and see us at the Quest in Birmingham, I will be traveling down to Sage A's stomping grounds down to Dothan, Alabama for the Preferred Show on February 10th. We'll be featuring Sage, of course, you know, the hostess with the mostess, as well as me, you know, your Queen of Valentine's Day, Florian Kennedy, Gina will be going with us. Just Gina. And Johnny Cyrus. Johnny Cyrus as well.
Our drag king of Dothan. So it's going to be a stunning little show. It's themed The Heart On.
Which we all love.
You had a little helping with the flyers and making the flyers. You helped a little. So yeah, it's a pretty exciting lineup. We have the Heart of Alabama and the Queen of Valentine herself, Amber Valentine.
You're welcome.
We have the comedical talents of Just Gina. We have the iconic, legendary style of the one and only Johnny Cyrus. And then we have the pageantry
our old school
Miss Florian.
Our old school girl.
And then you have, of course, all of the above with your host. Myself and I.
See, that was comedy right there. She tries.
Exactly. I have comedy. I can serve looks. I can perform.
Yeah, we thought Mirage did too, but clearly not.
Anyways, with those exciting things to come, it's time for our interview Q&A portion of the show.
Which fits perfectly with today's topic of slay.
I agree.
Please welcome to the stage your contestant number 69, Miss Sylvia Marie Synthetic Wig.
I can't.
Miss Cynthia Marie Synthetic Wig. How are you today, my love?
I'm doing horrible after hearing my name.
You chose it, girl. You chose it. So I'm going to read your question to you twice, and then you can answer however you choose, okay? So your question reads, when people are jealous, do you think it's cute or not? Again, your question reads, when people are jealous, do you think it's cute or not? Good luck.
Thank you for that incredible question. So to answer your question of the night, when people are jealous, it does arouse me. No, I'm just kidding. I think jealousy can be a disease. I definitely think being jealous is a tendency that I do not like to have for myself, and I often will not have for myself. I will make sure of that. In the sense of relationship wise, I do feel jealousy is a little attractive. I do feel like it keeps me in touch with the relationship, I guess you would say. But I overall feel like jealousy is kind of pointless.
Well, I feel like it depends on the setting also. You know, certain settings, I mean, as long as it's tasteful.
No, I agree. All right. Are you ready for your question, Miss Contestant number 73? Because that's the year you look like you were born in. Your question, Miss Ambrosia Starling III, is: are you always on time or late? And your question reads: are you always on time or late?
So to answer the question that I actually almost asked you,
that was the one I wanted to ask you.
So I am one that I consider on time because the most I'm late is 5-10 minutes, especially for show times every Friday. Like we have to be there an hour before show starts, and at most latest I'm there 11:10 at the latest. So I would consider myself on time, especially because half the time I'm late because I have to stop and get gas because we don't keep gas in our car. So yeah, I would say I'm majority of on time.
Yeah. And I feel like drag queen time is the real thing.
A huge thing.
It is. And a little peek into what's to come. I actually have been on, this is kind of verging off, but I've been on top of my scheduling when it comes to filming YouTube videos. And I already have the next week's video already out, or already in production, already done with production, I guess you would say. It's about how to run a show, spoiler alert. And I mentioned it at Drag Queen Time. And Drag Queen Time is a very real thing.
It really is.
Something that I take a lot of inspiration from is Mark at Owls on 7th, the owner of Owls on 7th. He kind of eliminates Drag Queen Time with his shows, and he starts promptly at 11 o'clock.
Yep. He is always on time, and I give him kudos.
I love that. And it should be like that. You know, as a show director, whenever I see that the show does not start on time, I see the people walking out. I see the people not wanting to be a part of the show anymore because it's unprofessional.
Right.
You know what I mean?
There's certain places that I would give an exception to, you know, kind of like Quest, where we wait for the crowd to come from Al's to come to us. So we wait that extra 30 minutes for them to show up. So
my only issue with that is, what about the other people who don't know that?
The 3 people that are there.
I mean, that's fair.
And 9 times out of 10, they're only there to drink. They're not even there to watch the show.
Don't forget that you can ask these questions for us to answer on my link tree.
And go ask us now. Like, I know you're literally doing nothing, so go ask.
With us being all talked out, it's time to end this episode of the Preferred Podcast. Make sure to follow all of my socials at The Only Preferred for brand new videos and looks. And they've been coming out, mama.
They've been coming.
I've had 2 looks come out this week. I just posted a new one, a little teaser for Valentine's Day. So make sure to go follow and give them a like. Make sure to comment on some.
And you can follow all my socials at Amber_V_Valentine. On TikTok and Instagram. And you can come by my TikTok every Friday between 8 and 9 p.m. Central Time to watch me paint my mug on TikTok Live. And Amber V. Valentine on Facebook. And I have a link tree in my bio as well.
And speaking of following along and commenting, comment who your favorite was in this episode of RuPaul's Drag Race, as well as go comment on the last video on my YouTube channel to see if you would like to see more of the Preferred Trivia shows.
And follow for more episodes of the Preferred Podcast every Wednesday on Spotify and YouTube, promptly around 2 p.m.
Listen, usually it happens, but sometimes YouTube don't be wanting to work
We try. We're fighting with technology, and YouTube, technology always wins.
It doesn't make sense. Sometimes YouTube will literally upload like a 30-minute video and like take hours, but then an hour video takes 5 minutes, mama. And I'm like, what?
Technology always wins.
Yeah.
We always lose against technology.
But anyways, it's been nice talking.
And we'll talk to you later.
Stay preferred.
And full of love.